Welcome to the Dome Discussions Podcast. Your top source for all things New Orleans Saints. Powered by four voices who live and breathe black and gold. Touchdown! Every hit, every play.
Welcome to the NFL.
Every moment. We've got it covered.
Let's go! Let's go! Go!
What's going on, Who Dat Nation? Welcome back to the Dome Discussions Podcast. Today I'm joined by Caleb Yacarino, Drew Collins, and Kyle Bisson. Today we will be previewing the Saints versus Buccaneers Week 8 matchup. There's been some comments made by Baker Mayfield that have gotten things riled up ahead of the game. But first, we'll kind of start off with the injury report from Wednesday's practice. Chris Olave missed practice due to an ankle injury that he suffered against the Bears. Caleb and I did mention that we've seen him limping throughout the past couple of weeks, but he is expected to play. He played through an ankle injury his rookie season as well. Nick Underhill of New Orleans Football Network actually said he would arrive to the stadium in a boot, play the game, and then leave in a boot. So Olave, if he can play, he's going to play. Chase Young missed practice with an illness. I expect him to be back and ready for game day. Alontae Taylor missed due to personal reasons, so he's not dealing with anything, an injury at least. And Jawan Johnson was seen wearing a red non-contact jersey. I'm not sure what that's about, but maybe we'll get more info on that after today's practice. But then you have the Buccaneers injury report. The Buccaneers have 17 people on their injury report, 11 DNPs. We know that Bucs wide receiver Mike Evans did suffer a broken clavicle and a concussion against the Lions, so he will not be suiting up against the Saints. He's actually expected to miss the remainder of the season. If not, he'll be back really late in the season. So it sucks to see a player get injured like that, but it does help the Saints. It does help the Saints, unfortunately. Anything you guys would like to touch on regarding the Bucs and the Saints injury report?
Yeah, I'd like to go first. I'm surprised you didn't name out all 17, man. It's but look, Egbuka, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. There's one thing, right? The Saints cornerbacks are struggling. They're not doing great. If there's a time to take advantage, Sterling Shepard, wide receiver one, right? He's a good, solid veteran, but nobody that should really beat you over the top. The Saints secondary has been, their biggest, I would say their biggest culprit, but they also haven't been able to stop the run. So the Saints defense is catching a bit of a break, but you're going against a guy that's been in MVP conversations, who's also dealing with his own injury, by the way. He was limited. I believe it's a knee injury. Yeah, it's a knee injury for Baker Mayfield as well, but he's in MVP talks for a reason. Baker Mayfield has revitalized his career. He is a franchise quarterback for the Buccaneers at this point. So the Saints cornerbacks, they have a break, right? You're not going to be facing Egbuka isn't ruled out, so you don't know Egbuka. He's potentially still there. But Chris Godwin and Mike Evans are both ruled out, and Egbuka hasn't participated this week after not participating all last week and then still playing against the Lions. So we don't know what we got there, and he's been lightning in a bottle for them. But the Saints defense is going to have a lot to deal with. And another one, Antoine Winfield for the Buccaneers defense, another guy that hasn't played. But I'm just hoping this is a real opportunity for the Saints defense to finally keep it all in front of them and stop letting those big plays happen.
And Levante did it as well.
That's what I was just about to mention. That's their heart and soul in the defense. He's their play caller. He's their captain. Levante David means a lot to this Buccaneers team. And then he's also not the only linebacker, defensive lineman they're missing. Hassan Reddick has not played this week. Marquise Watts has not played this week. And so, yeah, on defensively, Kyle noted a lot of the secondary being gone. But it's a lot of that linebacker, defensive line room, too, that's going to be hampered. So I think the Saints offense, I think Spencer Rattler has a really good bounce back opportunity here. And it's still only Thursday right now. We haven't gotten the latest injury report yet. But so it's likely a good amount of them will play. But they're not going to be at full strength if they were. So Spencer Rattler is going to have a great opportunity here to bounce back and prove that Week 7 showing against the Bears was just a fluke. It's not going to happen again. He just got flustered by that Dennis Allen defense. So I think for him, just going up against this injured team could be an indicator of the future with him. If he does not play well, fans are going to say, oh, they were so injured and he didn't show well. And the calls for Shuck are going to keep getting louder by the day.
Yeah, and this is kind of one of those games the Saints need to take advantage of just because of how many injuries there are and the healthy players are not healthy. And this Bucs team, this year have only won one game by more than one score. They've really just won all these games by like 4 points, 3 points. I mean, they
Less than
barely
three.
beat, yeah, they barely beat the Jets, barely beat the Falcons. Like, this is not people kind of the Bucks were rated high for Canal Street Chronicles. I do a power rankings piece, and I always see the Bucks, and they're always ranked high. And I also do State of NFC South piece where we talk about like all the different, just the NFC South teams, how they did last week in their games. And every time I was like, Baker Mayfield looked decent to great. He overcame challenges, but this team only won by 3 against a bad team. I mean, they also only won by, I think, 3 against the Texans. The Texans have been struggling. Like, this is not the best team in general. And then with all these injuries that they have to overcome, this is absolutely a game the Saints should take advantage of. I'm not going to say it's a super tight NFC South because the Saints are 1-6, but look, it's a kind of a weird NFC South where every single one of these teams are just, it's all over the place for them.
Yeah, look, you're absolutely right. They only beat the Falcons by 3, the Texans by 1, the Jets by 2, and the Seahawks by 3. So they have not been really dominating in any of these games. They only have the 19th ranked offense in the league and the 15th ranked defense. So they're kind of in the middle ground there. But I do want to touch on something Drew talked about. This should be a bounce back game for Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler said that this is going to be a big completion game. They're going to have to take advantage of what the Bucs defense gives them. He did give credit to the Bucs defense, but like you said, they're going to be missing a lot of pieces, presumably, if they don't play. But he did also talk about some of his struggles last week against the Bears. He mentioned some of his situational awareness that he needs to improve on, especially on that Rashid Shaheed interception. Could have taken off for a first down, but ended up throwing a pretty ugly interception there. He just says you got to stay neutral. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. And just think about what's the game that's on your schedule right now. So Spencer Rattler's still locked in. He's avoiding all the noise. This has to be a bounce back game for him. And then for what Kyle said regarding the Buccaneers wide receiver corps, actually one of their top targets is tight end Cade Otton. Cade Otton has 22 receptions for 231 yards, and Sterling Shepard's actually not been bad at all. He's second on the team with 267 yards on 26 receptions. So while they will be missing their top targets, oh goodness, I know what I said. While they will be missing some of their top targets, they still will have a workload there. And Tez Johnson didn't have a great game last week, but he has shown out in a couple of games this season. With that first touchdown, it was a great play. I can't remember who it was against exactly, but it was a really nice play, and he can definitely stretch the field with his speed. So the Saints corners will have to watch him, keep an eye on him. But yeah, that's what I think about the Bucs. I do think they have some pieces that can still come out and give the Saints some trouble, even though they are injured.
And I want to go kind of back on, we're talking about how the Bucs have been winning the close ones, and the Saints have been keeping it close for the most part. We know last week was the Saints' real outplayed, right? The Seahawks game, it was a lot of early on mistakes, and yeah, obviously they beat the Saints pretty bad, but they were down 21-0, a lot of special teams. Last week, they were just outplayed completely, all sides of the ball. Everything went wrong, right? So the Saints have kept it close in most of their games, and it hasn't all been one-score games. Sometimes it gets a little away from them, but they've kept it close. But that's going to be the difference on Sunday is the Buccaneers have found a way to win the close ones, good or bad team, and the Saints haven't been able to find a way to win the close one. Now, with a real, 17 guys on the injury report, maybe the Saints have an edge, but the Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers have found ways to win it, and that may be the difference is they have the experience of winning those on Sunday, and the Saints have yet to do that.
I mean, yeah, it's like if you look at the Saints record and the Bucks record and you just flip a coin about how different games end, the Saints could be what the Bucks record currently is. Like, it's just kind of one of those crazy things where it's just so close in this division that, yeah, the records might be this crazy difference, but they're not really that far apart. And yes, an injured Bucks team is not very far apart. If this team was fully healthy, we would be having different conversations because Baker Mayfield, look, he could play like an MVP, but he could also crumble against certain defenses like what happened last week. So if this team was healthy, I mean, we would be having such a different conversation, but that's kind of what the Saints' season has been. This seems like a very similar conversation when the Saints faced the 49ers, where if the 49ers were healthy, we weren't going to pick the Saints in any way, shape, or form. But we all felt like there's a chance the Saints win this game because of the amount of injuries and the amount of issues that they had and the 49ers won. And look, that was early in the season, and hopefully the Saints could bounce back from the Chicago Bears game, which, kind of going off what Kyle was saying, like that, I thought that was the worst loss of the season. And I thought that was the worst game of the season for the Saints, because that was a winnable game, and you came unprepared away, and you struggled in almost every way possible. Besides maybe besides maybe the pass defense, but honestly, the pass defense got a break because the Bears could just run the ball. And guess why the Saints' run defense hasn't looked horrible all season? Because everyone could pass the ball against the Saints. So it's just one of those things that, it might not look like an issue, but it's an issue if a team actually exposes it.
Yeah, and going off of what you were saying, Caleb, and being healthy, and what Kyle was saying in experience, I'll kind of transition that into who will be starting for the Saints at center this week, and that's Luke Fortner. Has 34 career starts at center, and will start for Eric McCoy while Eric McCoy is dealing with that torn bicep. Kellen Moore said the surgeries to Kendre Miller and Eric McCoy will happen soon. But looking back in hindsight, that was a great trade for the Saints. Colin Saunders has been a healthy scratch since week 1 for the Jaguars. So it looks like they got a valuable piece for not much, or at least someone they didn't have a carved out role for on this defense. So I think that trade was great for the Saints. Kind of pivoting to some more trade talk. A report came out from Jordan Schultz today that Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave are on a lot of wide receiver needy teams' radars. I kind of want to get your guys' opinion on that, if you think the Saints should deal one of those 2 wide receivers, or if you think that it will happen.
I think I'll start because, yes, I have been clearly the one against trading Olave on Twitter, right? To me, Shaheed, I explained this to you guys earlier in the text, but I'll say it again. I think Shaheed's a luxury player where there's 2 teams that can go after Shaheed if he's demanding. He's looking around that 20 million range. That's kind of just where you project 20 million to 25 million. I just don't think the Saints could pay that. And he's going to be 28 I believe it's 28 next season, right? Yeah. So it's just a player that I love Shaheed and what he's done for the offense, but if the Saints have to pick between one or the 2, you go with your younger guy who you could probably pan out a future for. Shaheed is a great deep threat, and he'll make a great spot on either a Super Bowl contending team who's looking for, lightning in a bottle, a big playmaker like Shaheed, or a team that just has money that they can throw around and they can pay Shaheed. To me, Olave is your piece for the future. Obviously, he had his mistakes, and then I kind of did talk a little bit of talk last week because Olave did what you would hope Olave does, right? He had a good game. He brought in the tough catches. He got 2 touchdowns. He was the only thing on the Saints that went right last week. I believe I tweeted blah blah blah, trade him. But who is Spencer Rattler going to throw the ball to, right? Is it going to be Rashid Shaheed in all 3 phases of all 3 phases of the field? I don't think so. I don't think Rashid's going to be your short, your mid-range, inner deep ball. He's been a deep ball guy, and that's mostly been his role. Olave can do that. Now, we haven't seen as much of the deep ball early on in the season, but look where I think it's now back-to-back weeks where we've seen that from Olave, and both have been, the first one was to start the game against the Patriots, and the next one was a deep ball against the Bears to get the Saints offense started, right? So now we're finally seeing that from Olave, and that's what he's really going to. Look, I think the Saints have time with Olave. Obviously, you still have his 5th-year option. You have time to get this stuff figured out. If you're not going to extend him, and then, yes, I guess trade him this season. But I think the better move is extend him. He hasn't been going crazy yet. He hasn't been doing that great. So maybe you get a little bit of a discount for that. I think the Jameson Williams deal with Detroit was terrible. And I think that's going to inflate a lot of it. We look at these teams who kind of ruin wide receiver markets. That's one to me that ruins the wide receiver market. And that makes where you kind of have to pay Chris Olave this 30 million plus, right? But look, I think right now you see what you got. You got Olave, who's a young guy. Shaheed's kind of in the middle of his career right now, and to me, he's a luxury that I just don't think the Saints can afford.
I have pretty similar thoughts to you. I've been very clear. I am not for an Olave trade, barring an insane offer, which I don't know if the Saints will get. Saints get a ton of draft capital, and it's too hard to say no. Then yeah, I get that, but I just don't think they'll get that. And even for the development of Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shuck, I do not think it's wise to go and trade your number 1 weapon. I was open with this using Justin Fields, using Bryce Young as all kind of comparisons with it. Bryce Young, they traded away DJ Moore. You saw how he looked the first couple of years. He just had no one to throw to. And if the Saints do trade Chris Olave, I feel like they will be in the danger zone of becoming that, where, yeah, Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shuck don't look good, but how much can you blame that on them? And how much can you blame that on the team for not having any weapons? So I think Olave, it would be not wise to trade him whatsoever. And then kind of what Kyle was saying, if they do trade one, Shaheed is 100% the option to trade. Yeah, you're going to be losing a threat in your offense. You're going to be losing a punt returner, a kick returner, someone who can make a play, snap, and it's a touchdown. But if you can get a good offer for him and you don't have to pay him, I think it's going to be too hard to say no.
Yeah, last episode I was the guy that said, "Hey, I'd rather trade Chris Olave than Rashid Shaheed." And honestly, I'm still kind of in that mindset just because, like, I just think with the draft capital you could get back. And again, I'm in full agreement. You don't trade him for whatever. Like, you don't say, "Okay, he's on the open market. We'll trade him for a fourth round pick." Or third round pick. That's dumb. That's stupid. Never do that. But if you get a second or third round pick, thoughts start happening. Maybe, right? After last episode, and with draft thoughts in mind, potential rookie quarterback draft, like with that in mind, my thought process kind of changed a little bit, because if Tyler Shuck's not the guy, if he really struggles this year and the Saints go next draft with a rookie quarterback that they need to draft, I want Chris Olave on this roster. I do not want Chris Olave on a different team because the Saints don't have enough. I mean, if they trade Chris Olave, maybe you could get a wide receiver in the second round, but you have to draft a quarterback in the first round. And I don't want my quarterback to have to throw to Rashid Shaheed, Devon Vele, and Brandon Cooks as your three wide receivers, which I like that group, but you're fully missing a wide receiver one. And I don't want to throw a rookie quarterback into a struggling situation right away. I want him to thrive. So that's kind of where my thought process changed with it. And then the other thing I thought about, which I do not fully know when the deadline to get a contract extension with Chris Olave is. I'm pretty sure they could go into next season without a contract extension. I don't know if that's fully true, but I'm pretty sure that should be the case because he has the 5th-year contract. I'm not extending him until next season if I can. Now, that might not be too happy for Chris Olave, but that might be what it is, because I just want to know what the situation is with a rookie quarterback, who's playing quarterback, injury situations. And look, you could trade Chris Olave next season if you don't come with a contract extension. The price is going to be lower. That's going to be a depreciated asset. I wouldn't really like that. But I also don't think the Saints are going to be rushed into trading Chris Olave. Now, again, if you don't trade Chris Olave, you need to trade Rashid Shaheed. That's a necessity at that point, because you're not going to re-sign both wide receivers to this roster in the offseason. You're not, and I mean extend Olave and bring back Rashid Shaheed. You're going to need to get something for him. And as I said last week, maybe you get a comp pick, but I'd rather get a pick for next year.
Yeah, and I feel like I've made my point clear throughout the past couple of episodes that I'm on the side of not trading either of those guys, but obviously it makes the most sense that you're going to have to move on from one of them. But to Chris Olave's defense, from what Kyle was saying earlier on the deep shots, well, I guess it's not to his defense because he dropped a couple of them, but him and Spencer Rattler have taken those shots this season, whether it be Spencer Rattler slightly overthrowing or Chris Olave dropping it. Earlier in the season, there were definitely opportunities for Chris Olave to have those splash plays. And regarding Rashid Shaheed, I said this in one of our group chats, but he kind of strikes me as a guy who would take a bit less just to stay where he's at. Had 3 serious knee injuries in his career. Like you said, he'll be 28 years old. I kind of get those AK vibes from him. I feel like he would be a guy, and look, I could be wrong, that would take a little bit less to stay in New Orleans where he's found a home.
And this was one of the things that I said that, look, you look at the A.J. Brown trade for the Titans, it never worked. Now, there's a little different. He was a first-round pick. I don't think you're getting a first-round pick for Olave. But I hate the idea of trading your guy and then using the draft pick you traded for your guy to go get another guy. And because, like, it doesn't work. Treylon Burks was not A.J. Brown. And ever since that trade has happened, to look at the Titans wide receiver room, right? I don't think Chris Olave is 100% there where A.J. Brown was at the time, but you got to think A.J. Brown wasn't he still didn't have his full breakout by that time. He still wasn't a bona fide number one. He was a really solid guy, but he didn't become that until he went to Philadelphia. So, you trade Olave now and he does become that for another team. Because, I mean, look at JSN, look at Egbuka, look at what those guys are doing. That's Chris Olave's ceiling right now, right? It's the same school. They have a lot of the same play style. That's what Chris Olave could be. You just have to get him there. So I hate the idea of, look, hey, let's trade Olave. I think you could get a second round pick. I think that's reasonable. And then you go ahead and use that second round pick on a wide receiver, and that wide receiver doesn't even come close to, putting up that production. And now you wasted that. You wasted what could have been at least another year or so of Chris Olave. You wasted that draft pick. None of it works out. I hate the idea of trading a guy and going in the draft and getting a guy with that draft pick. So that, for me, that's completely against it. And, I'm with Nick. I think if you can keep both, keep both. I mean, they're both still young enough. They both still have plenty that they can add to the team. And yes, you're looking to add draft capital and things like that. I mean, you got to look at a number, right? Is 40 million the number? Can you get both Olave and Shaheed on the team at around 40 million? Is that too big, right? Because that's thinking like, look, I'm paying Chris Olave 30 million or around upper 20 millions, and then Shaheed around, the 12, 13 millions. And that feels like lowballing Shaheed and maybe not getting Olave where you want to get him. You see, it's hard, right? But that's around the number where it's like, okay, I don't feel so bad having Olave and Shaheed on my team for 40 million. Do I think they get there? It's kind of hard. Like saying you kind of hoping Shaheed's this guy that's like, well, I just want to be in New Orleans. And, he could be that guy. We'll find out, I'm assuming soon, right? But they're both guys that can help your quarterback develop, and I don't want you to have to go out and find one or spend money on another one that just doesn't fit.
Yeah, I would like to go back to something. Or you go for a second.
Real quick, if the Saints could get Olave and Shaheed under contract for $40 million, I would be ecstatic. Jamar Chase himself is making $40 million a year. So, that would be a huge steal for the Saints.
I kind of wanted to go back to what Kyle was saying about trading a player and then drafting that same position. And you brought up the Titans trading A.J. Brown for Treylon Burks, basically. And yeah, that didn't work out for them. Treylon Burks was thought to be, at the time, a pretty similar player, both being able to do contested catches. Maybe Treylon Burks could do a little bit more as a weapon. But for this year's draft right now, which is looking at, I talked about this a little bit last week, but the receiver class, it's got so many different prototypes, so many different archetypes. I wouldn't mind if you say we don't need more speed. We've got Olave, we have Brandon Cooks, we have people who can run fast. We have Troy Palmer, who we haven't seen, Jalen Polk. So if you go and you trade Rashid Shaheed, get a random pick back, let's just say a third round or something like that, and you select a wide receiver who you feel like better fits your scheme, if you select more of a big-bodied receiver, if you go someone like that, I do feel like it could make some sense then to draft another receiver. Even if he doesn't go straight to that production, if you grab one that better fits your offense and better complements the other players in your team, I don't think it could be that bad.
Look at the Minnesota Vikings, Stephon Diggs and Justin Jefferson. That worked out for them.
Right there.
But yeah, I want to talk about something else because I know we talked a lot about the running backs last week. The Saints recently just signed second-year running back Audric Estime, former Denver Bronco, former Notre Dame Fighting Irish running back. He is great between the tackles, can run through contact. That's exactly what the Saints are missing in the backfield. So I would really like to see him get a chance this weekend. Like I said, Caleb actually said it before we started recording that Taysom Hill doesn't look to have that same burst. And you've noticed that between the tackles. Alvin Kamara, he's not looked the same between the tackles with his balance. It's just not looking like old AK. Kendre Miller did look good in that, but obviously we know he tore his ACL. So maybe Audric Estime and Devin Neal can get that between the tackle running going for the Saints because they sure do need it.
Devin Neal will.
Devin Neal's got that on his own trust. He's got that.
Devin Neal should have been playing this whole season, even as just like a 3rd and 1 running back. Just throw him out there and see. I've been saying it since week 1 because he showed it week 1. Just do it. The Saints have struggled, and I will say they haven't struggled in like 4th and short and 3rd and short. I actually think they're pretty good in 4th short, 3rd and short.
If they like for it on 4th down. Sorry,
if Blake Grupe's not put out there. But Devin, that's kind of, look, the Kendre Miller injury is horrible. We are all so mad about it. It's bad. Yeah. But if there's one positive to take away from it, Devin Neal is put out there, and we finally get to see what we have in Devin Neal. And it just it goes back to something I said last week. I've written about it, I think, 3 times. It's like these rookies are outplaying the people in front of them. And I just want to see everything with the rookies. And that's why I'm like, okay, Tyler Shuck, yeah, you could come in soon because and the fact Kellen Moore even said, yeah, it's a week by week process is a complete change. It's completely different from the feeling he's put out there before. And now I think Tyler Shuck can be put in next week or not earlier, but a little later. But like now Devin Neal's forced into a role that I think he could really do well. And it's kind of going out there here, but if anyone watches the Pelicans, head coach Willie Green does not, besides this year, I don't know why, did not play young players at all. Like he usually let the veterans that they played before, no matter what, no matter if it was a good idea or a bad idea. It's a similar situation. I have a feeling with Devin Neal where it was like, okay, Devin Neal just needs to play, or Danny Stutzman just needs to play. Or Quincy Riley before, like we clearly see a young player that is showing potential, that is outplaying people, and they're not playing, and it's frustrating. And I don't think it's like a Willie Green situation where he just doesn't want to do it. Like I think it's we feel like it's not win now. But now this team is not win now. Now I feel like the coaching staff is committed to like, we have to think about the future with this team. And just being forced to put in Devin Neal is going to be, I think, better for the long run. And if Chris Olave or she get traded, same thing is going to happen with Devon Vele. Vele's snaps are going to fly. And maybe that's the thing that forces them to do it, which I don't know why it is, but maybe that's the thing.
As someone who's watched every Devin Neal game for all of his college career, all of that, watched
His
every single game.
Career.
I'm so excited to watch him play. Like, I really think he can. That's just not even the Kansas person in me saying that. I really think Devin Neal will have a great role in his offense, and I think he'll meet it. You've seen him do the small stuff. He does that stuff so well, the blocking, all of that. And I think that's really going to benefit the Saints offense. You saw the one play he got highlighted for, saving Spencer Rattler from getting absolutely obliterated by a Bears defender. I think that's going to elevate their offense piece by piece. You might not notice everything he does because some of the stuff just won't be flashy, but he will have an impact on most plays. And when he does get the ball, I think you are going to see him lean forward, fall down to get more yards. And I think it's going to be a really good sign for the years to come.
Yeah, and
real quick, I wanted to touch on something Caleb said. It's interesting. He was talking about the coaches now viewing the future as the top priority. Kellen Moore actually answered a question on that today, or I believe it was yesterday. He admits that he knows that it's a developmental season. He knows they have a developmental roster, but the objective has not changed for every Sunday, and maybe that's why we haven't seen so many young players. Kellen Moore, as a young head coach, a first-year head coach, he wants to put out good tape. He wants to put out a good resume. And look, maybe you aren't going to win games because of those young players, but they sure are going to help you in the future. We talked about it last week with Danny Stutzman behind Pete Werner, Quincy Riley thriving after taking over for Isaac Yiadom. The Saints need to embrace that youth movement. And Kellen Moore's comment on them having the same objective every Sunday doesn't make me exactly feel like they are embracing that youth movement.
Yeah, and all I was going to say, first of all, shout out Jeremiah Fears. Okay, you guys were telling me about him in the draft process. Shout out Jeremiah Fears. But look, the thing for me is, Devin Neal has to play now because he showed you why he can. He showed you why he can. You do the dirty work. That's when you get to run the ball. He did the dirty work. He was highlighted for it, posted on the NFL official account, right? It's like no question. There's no more healthy scratches, nothing. Devin Neal is going to play going forwards. Unfortunate for the injury. I know you guys know how much I absolutely loved and vouched for Kendre Miller, and we saw it. That's the worst part, is we got to see it this season. We got to see what Kendre Miller was. Unfortunately, it took seeing Dennis Allen just one time for it to all end, right? But Devin Neal's going to get to play. He's going to get his chance, and he did the dirty work already. He's been highlighted for doing the dirty work. He's going to get to run the ball. And, I'm excited to see. Now, look, you guys are a lot bigger on him than I am. A lot bigger, right? I think he looks like he's carrying a tractor behind him when he's running. It's kind of one of those things. He's a little bit of a slower guy, but he's a bowling ball. And, we saw it with Jamal Williams last year. And speaking of it, because I'm going to bring it up because we kind of talked about it. I'm not going to bring up the Juwan Johnson thing we talked about earlier with being hype. But that is one thing that Jamal Williams brings, was he was bringing that hype. And, he would gain you third. It was 3rd and 2. He'd get you those 2 yards, and he'll hop out and, start screaming. I loved watching Devin Neal in that Colorado game because you saw the passion and emotion from that hard running. That's another thing that Devin Neal brings that we haven't seen from the Saints and from the Saints offense. It's just some straight passion. I mean, I have the video on my phone somewhere of him just talking trash. Absolutely. Yep. The ref had to get between them, everything like that. And that's beautiful to me. That's football to me, right? So I love to see that. And that's what Devin Neal brings. He'll do the dirty work. He'll block. He'll drop forwards for 2 yards every single time. And that's what the Saints are going to get from him. Now, you're still not going to get those explosive plays that we have yet to get from the Saints over the last 6 years, right? Like, it's been a while. But he's done the dirty work, and he's going to see play time just because he's able to protect the passer as well.
If you want to see what Devin Neal can do for the offense, watch that Colorado game. He runs the ball, he catches the ball, he pass blocks, he's a leader. Watch that game if you want to see the essence of Devin Neal, and I promise you'll be impressed.
Yeah, and Kellen Moore actually talked about Devin Neal yesterday as well, saying he's ready to go, and he is definitely going to take on a larger role. So we will definitely see a lot of Devin Neal. He was a 6th-round pick, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, there was a lot of scouts after the draft and throughout the draft process that said if this running back class was not so deep, Devin Neal would have been 3rd round or minimum. That would have been as far as he would fall. Devin Neal is definitely one of the more talented running backs in this draft class, and I'm excited to see what he could do.
Yeah, one of the things I feel like, just going back to the youth movement real quick, that I don't think anyone really talks about is how inexperienced the defensive coaching staff is. Like, these are all college, not all, but most of them are college positional coaches or were defensive coordinators or something, and then came to a positional coach. Like, these are very inexperienced coaches, and they're also learning. Like, we talk about the players developing, the coaches are developing too. This is a very young coaching, or not even young coaching staff, just inexperienced college coaching staff. And I think that might be one of the reasons why we're seeing all the young players on defense really not all the young players, but all the new rookies really step up, because it kind of just felt like they went from college to college, like kind of that same coaching style. I know it's not the same process, but same coaching style. And like that also could be a reason why we're seeing so many struggles with some of the veterans or some of the 2nd-year players or 3rd-year players, like that they just need to get used to that, while the college players are kind of just used to it already.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about something before we transition into our trivia segment. I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on Baker Mayfield's comments earlier this week. He was asked by a reporter if his feelings about the Saints. He clearly does not like them. He clarified his comments that he made a couple of years ago. He did say that the Saints are a dirty football team. And I kind of wanted to know what you guys thought about that, and if you think this lights a fire under a team with nothing to lose right now.
Yeah, look, I absolutely love Baker Mayfield. I vouch for Baker Mayfield over Derek Carr. But you know what I love about Baker Mayfield? The same thing that everybody's realizing now. That man plays with a lot of passion, a lot of fire. Now, look, I'm not saying I love his comments, but I love that these comments are coming out before an NFC South matchup between the 1-6 Saints, right, and the 5-2 Buccaneers, because we know, like we already said, like the Buccaneers aren't beating these bad teams by a lot. The Saints aren't getting blown out by. This is going to be a dogfight. NFC South is any conference game is going to. What am I thinking? That's not conference. Division. Yeah, any division game is going to be the definition of any given Sunday. I say any given Sunday every episode because I mean it with this 1-6 Saints team, right? And an NFC South divisional game, that's going to be the epitome of it, right? And now you're going to make it a little feisty, get a little. Sure, do it, man. Look, I'm watching the 1-6 Saints. I'm just trying to enjoy football at this point, right? So go ahead, make it a little more feisty out there. And look, obviously these guys don't like each other. There's a long history going back with Mike Evans, Marshawn Lattimore. It goes back before that, right? But that's really when you started to see how these two teams don't like each other. So 100%, look, I'm down for it. I love it. I love that Baker Mayfield did it. I don't love the comment. I don't think the Saints are a dirty team. And obviously you could do the same back. It's always going to be that true with every NFL team. Someone's did something that another team's not going to like. It's just always going to be the truth. But go ahead and say it the week of, and then we get to enjoy it. And now, look, I'm just going to sit back on Sunday, watch football, watch two teams who don't like each other play football, and you just made it better.
Good game.
The ultimate Danny Stutzman game. Put him in and let him just go. Let him just go. No, but and then I on the other side, like I think I saw some hate with Kellen Moore's comments on like responding to Baker Mayfield. Like, I'm sorry, what? I don't expect my head coach to say like, yeah, no, we're trying to injure them or something like that. Like no, or like say, like I understand why he's calming them down because he also doesn't want. He just saw the Saints roster come into the game with a little bit of energy and not even energy, like extra motivation, and it kind of put Spencer Rattler off like kilter. Like I think he's just kind of trying to calm down the team a little bit, be like, no, like be motivated, but also don't get random flags thrown on you for punching a player. Like I understand why Kellen Moore is trying to calm them down, but no, I hate the comments that Baker Mayfield said, but I like that he said them because it adds, as Cal said, it kind of adds something to the quote unquote rivalry, even though it's the third most important rivalry in the division. But like it just adds something, which I always love. It reminds me of the Tom Brady against Dennis Allen
Yeah.
Bucks game.
Chauncey Gardner Johnson.
Yeah.
Wow.
PJ Williams pick 6.
Yeah, I mean, it'll just add a little bit fire to the fuel. It'll get Saints defenders mad. They're gonna be more likely to hit them as long as they stay level-headed. Just don't do anything stupid.
Yep.
That's the main thing. Don't do anything stupid. Play with the fire, but be smart.
Exactly right. Well, I think that's a good stopping point to head into our trivia segment. I think Kyle has the player today, so I'll kind of let him take it off from there.
All right, this is super easy. It's generally so easy. Okay, I'll put it out there. This is so easy. If you guys don't get it, so I will put it out. It is. All right, ready? We're just going to write it. Denver Broncos from 2006 to 2009. The Miami Dolphins from 2010 to 2011. The Chicago Bears from 2012 to 2014. The New York Jets from 2015 to 2016. The New York Giants 2017. Seattle Seahawks 2018. And the New Orleans Saints in 2018. And that was the final stop.
Wow. Seahawks then Saints. What?
Can you just say the teams quickly so I can lock it in?
Yep.
This is Brandon Marshall.
This is Brandon Marshall. Look, hey, there we go. There we look. It is.
Bang.
Dolphins, Bears, Seahawks should have gave it away.
I didn't choke on a trivia.
I don't remember Brandon Marshall as a Bronco.
That's why I remembered him.
That's
where I remembered him from.
I remember I honestly wait. The Bears were on there. I remember Bears.
Bears Jets is where I would have probably been. Bears Jets Giants
is where I knew Bears and Jets.
And then when
Giants and Broncos. No idea why, but that's the team that.
Do you guys remember when we signed him? Like what caused the Saints to sign him?
Des Bryant.
Yeah, unfortunately.
That'd be another good one.
I bought a Des Bryant T-shirt that day, man. I bought a.
That Bengals game was electric, though.
That was the most hilarious game.
That is my favorite span of Saints football of all time, by the way. Was it whoop the Eagles and then whoop the Bengals back to back? It was like 47-10 both games.
And then the Rams after.
And then that was a week. It was a week. They were 8-2. The Rams were 8-0. Saints were 7-1. Something like that.
Yeah, it was a great game. That's the game.
Remember those days? Remember those days?
I remember last year. Week 1 and 2 Saints last year.
I don't want to remember last year.
I'll remember the first 2 weeks. First 2 weeks I'll gladly remember. The Michael Jackson dance celebration.
Oh, yeah.
I'll gladly remember those 2 games. But after that.
And then Dennis Allen in the post locker room.
Wait. Well, actually, I'd love it because I wanted to say this on last week's episode just because you brought that up. Is that, bro, we were 2-0 and Dennis Allen's like, sometimes you got to pop out and show him. But then he shows true emotion when he beats the Saints. He had real hatred for the Saints because that was
clearly he destroyed the organization. He must have.
He showed real emotion against in the locker room after beating the Saints. That was like the most emotion I've ever seen from him. He's jumping.
That made me sick to my stomach. That was probably the worst part of the game. Not even the loss. Just seeing Dennis Allen enjoy that moment was not.
You know what? Whatever makes him happy, man. We're 1-6.
Yeah,
we got the higher draft pick. That's the game we're playing.
Yeah.
That's the game we're playing.
Well, all right. I think we'll transition that into our last segment, bold predictions and game picks. I will start out with this one. My bold predictions this week: I have Devin Neal rushing for over 30 yards. Like I said, he will have a large role in this offense, so I'm expecting to see a heavy workload for Devin Neal, and I think we all would like to see that. So that's something that I'll definitely be keeping an eye on. I have Danny Stutzman logging more snaps than Pete Werner this week. We've seen Pete Werner get benched twice in the past 2 weeks for Danny Stutzman. We talked about the youth movement. I think it's time. It's just Pete Werner. We talked about last week, players hurting the team do not deserve to be on the field. Pete Werner, Blake Grupe, Juwan Johnson, those guys all fall in that category. And I don't think Pete Werner deserves to see as much playing time as Danny Stutzman, who has done really well when he has seen the field. So I will be watching Danny Stutzman as well. And then for my final one, I did bring up Juwan Johnson. So I will have Foster Moreau hauling in 3+ receptions after Juwan Johnson's bad week last week. I think Foster's role will start to increase. He's a veteran on this team. He was very solid in the pass game with the Raiders with Derek Carr. So if we can see him bring that back, that would be great for this offense because we know Juwan Johnson has had some drop issues. And for my final score, or actually, yes, okay. So for my final score prediction, I had 2 because there is a scenario in which that I do think Charlie Smith replaces Blake Grupe this week. If Blake Grupe does miss a field goal, I think it's time that Charlie Smith finally sees the field. But for my first one, I'll go with 16-17 Saints if Blake Grupe plays because I do expect him to miss another field goal. Or Bucks, excuse me. 16-17 Bucks. I do. Caleb? 6-7. All right, I say it. 6-7. 16-17 Bucks. I do think Blake Grupe misses a field goal. And if Charlie Smith does play, I will go 18-21 Bucks. I don't think the Saints pull off this win. I do think it will be a feisty game, though. Like you said, Bucks haven't been able to pull away from their opponents besides, I can't remember who it was that it was the 49ers, but the 49ers have been banged up all season, so that really doesn't mean much to me. If the Saints can put up a fight like they did against the Patriots or in that win against the Giants, I can easily see them winning this game, but I'm not going to pick them this week. I will go with the Bucks.
I'll go next. Look, I haven't even sent in my bold predictions yet, but there's one thing that I've been set on all week, and Spencer Rattler's debut for the Saints was against the Buccaneers. And Todd Bowles realized in the second half that, wait, I can blitz him. And then he did it, and it went terrible for us for the rest of the way, right? Todd Bowles draws up some really creative blitz packages, and I'm expecting to just see more of that. Obviously, a lot of injuries. Maybe that changes a bit of things. And a lot of experience by Spencer Rattler. He's been able to dissect that for the most part until we went against Dennis Allen, and that exact problem happened where it became a problem. And I think it just happens again. Todd Bowles is really talented. Dennis Allen really talented. We saw the recipe to counter Spencer Rattler last week, and I don't see why they don't build on it this week. So I'm gonna say the offensive line gives up 7 sacks, right? Something we've seen something bad. We've seen those scenarios. So I think I almost did it. I'm not going to do it. We're all adults, okay? I'm not going to do the 6-7 thing. But around that number, right? Around that number is around the 6 or 7 mark where it's a lot of sacks. And then my next piece is just because I keep saying it, and I think if that scenario draws out and that does end up happening, we see Tyler Shuck. Look, this is the point where it's getting. We've changed to it's a week-to-week basis now, right? Yep. That commitment is no longer there. We saw Tyler Shuck in week 3 when the game was out of reach, and that was kind of a just throw him out there thing. I think if the Saints are still somehow in it, I think we do see Tyler Shuck because I think it's going to be a slugfest, and that's going to be my final score prediction. Is I think 16-14, or maybe 16-12, right? A whole lot of field goals. Now, I do want to quickly bring up on Nick. I don't know why Charlie Smith hasn't been up yet, right? I thought last week was the straw. I was confident last week was the straw. So I don't know why Charlie Smith hasn't been called up, right? But yeah, look, I think it's a slugfest. It comes out to a lot of field goals. Give me Buccaneers 16, the Saints 12.
Okay, I got 2 bold predictions. First one, Devin Neal rushes for 50 yards, 2 touchdowns, and also has 2 receptions through the air. Okay. So I think he's going to have a big game. I think he's going to show out and show the world what he can do. And the other one, we'll see if this one happens, but I'm going Nathan Shepard will get a sack, but it'll be taken away for a roughing the passer.
That is
That's
a great one. That is so
I do
good.
think that'll happen. Either
Chargers
that or personal foul. Something like that I think will happen. So those are my 2. And then I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Baker's experience and how well he is will prove to be the factor that pushes it towards the Bucs side. So I'm going to go a little bit more offense. I'm going 24-21 Saints lose.
Yeah, I have 3 bold predictions. My last one goes into my score, so I'll keep that alone by itself. But I have one. Foster Moreau is going to play more snaps than Juwan Johnson. Or let me fix that. Foster Moreau and Jack Stoll combined will play more snaps than Juwan Johnson. I really think Juwan Johnson's snap total is going to go down. I think he is a liability on blocking downs. And if, like you said, Todd Bowles is going to blitz, you need blockers. And I think he's going to be a liability, so you need to put them in. I am going with Devin Neal again. I think he's going to get his first career rushing touchdown. This man is going to run 2 times and get 0 yards from how confident we are.
Yeah, I know.
We are too
We're
confident.
jinxing it right now.
No,
We are jinxing it.
Trust the process.
It's not a sweep. And then my third one is the Saints lose because of a missed extra point by Blake Grupe. And my final score prediction is 21-20. And I think it's going to be the difference in the game with the Bucs scoring the last touchdown and making it 21. So I'm saying the Saints would be up 14. No, I forget.
20
I'm
to
doing
14.
math wrong.
20
Yeah,
to
there you
14.
go. We'll be up 20-14, and then Bucs score last touchdown and get that 1 point lead.
So my 3 takeaways from this: Blake Grupe and Juwan Johnson kind of suck now. Devin Neal's on the rise. That's my 3.
Look,
That's my 3 takeaways from that.
You know, I'm gonna hold you guys accountable. I'm gonna place all of my money on Devin Neal scoring a touchdown, and you guys are gonna be responsible for me going bankrupt. Okay,
I'll
that's
take it to the chin if it doesn't happen.
By the way, I want you guys to know during the Bears game, I posted a tweet. I was like, the prophecy is set. I had Kendre Miller 80+ yards anytime touchdown. That thing didn't even come close, right? It was 1 carry per. So you guys might be doing the same thing. I think I learned my lesson. I think you guys.
Look, Kyle, just don't be
I
the
will
coach
never
of the
learn my
Trailblazers,
lesson.
and I think you're good. Just don't be the coach of the Trailblazers, and I think you're fine.
I mean, I need to retire from betting. That's all I learned.
And we did talk about it last week. Blake Grupe has the 33rd ranked field goal percentage in the NFL among 32 teams in the NFL with 70%. Has made just 14 of his 20 attempts. So if he misses again this week, that's the last straw. It has to be. You can't just you can't do it. I mean, you're running out
losing
there
football.
you have no confidence in.
It's losing football. Like you
You're
literally
going for it. You're going for it or you're kicking field goals on 4th and 2 with a guy you don't even trust. I just can't. I can't back that up. This has to be the last straw if he misses another one. And like we said last week, Charlie Smith has a cannon of a leg just waiting to be unleashed on the sideline. So I'd like to see it, especially because you see kickers nowadays hitting 60-yarders like it's nothing. If Blake Grupe goes out there to kick a 60-yarder, I'm closing my eyes because I know he's missing. So there's a clear difference in the confidence between the kickers among the league and the kickers in the Saints locker room right now. So I'd like to see that change. But I think that's how we'll wrap up today's episode. We've got to go. But I appreciate everyone tuning in. We'll catch you guys for our recap episode after the game on Sunday night or on Monday morning. But thank you for tuning in. See you.